AM 560, The Answer.
Illegal aliens in sanctuary state.
Okay, so the answer to my question is yes. Under that scenario, someone could, they get their driver's license, again, because we give them to anybody here. They register to vote. It doesn't match with the Social Security number, so they're flagged, but they come in as long as they have an ID, which is that driver's license, and they sign that they're, eligible to vote, they can vote. And they're then no longer flagged. They're on the system. Is that correct?
Mr. Linnell.
Madam Chair, if I could add and maybe stepping back from those that are flagged as CID on the roster, for anyone that's presenting documentation to register to vote, that is affirmation of their identity. The driver's license has not been used as proof of citizenship for the purposes of registering to vote. It's affirming that they are who they say they are. So right. In any of these cases where someone were to cast a ballot if they were ineligible to vote, there are also reports that are generated post-election for voters that are challenged that counties will run to show status of voters that had been up.
But when you challenge them and you bring them to Democrats, they say you don't have standing like they did in 2020. And that's if they're not the machines from Venezuela.
Yes, well, he is listed as its former Admiral Peter Neffinger, or retired Admiral Peter Neffinger. He is president and on the board of directors of Smartmatic. And it just so happens he's on Mr. Biden's presidential transition team that's going to be non-existent.
Well, that's the payoff, and that's when we thought we could have the election results audited for 81 million morons that pretended to exist, that didn't exist. And in Illinois, the Kwame Raoul Democrats swear to uphold the Constitution. They found all kinds of other ways to undermine every principle of the Constitution.
My name is Joe Cohen. I'm the treasurer of the Illinois State Rifle Association. I deal with numbers for a living, and I want to be very clear with you today. HB 3320 and HB 2279 aren't about safety. They aren't about criminals. They're about money and control. These bills would quietly impose what amounts to a $1,600 excise tax on every firearm sold in Illinois. Not on criminals, not on gangs, on you, on lawful gun owners, small businesses, and working families. If this passes, the gun industry in Illinois doesn't survive it. Let's talk about what this really does. Under bills like these, the state of Illinois would demand nearly $1 billion a year from firearm manufacturers under the so-called RIFL Act.
It's the bastardization of law by scum gangster politicians who ensure that the decent not only have their money that they honestly earn extorted from them in taxes, both at the paycheck and at consumption, but to make sure they cannot defend themselves from the scum that they protect, the illegal aliens. And in there lies the rub. And when you figure out it's just an illusion anyway, it's always about just stealing everybody's money when you're a Democrat.
Wife of Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey has a direct tie to the $9 billion Somali migrant fraud through the Feeding Our Future scheme. Sarah Clark worked at Hilden Advocacy and Law as a lobbyist and director of government affairs from around 2016 to January 2022. The firm provided legal representation and lobbying services to Feed Our Future, the NGO that orchestrated the massive $250 million federal child nutrition fraud scandal, the largest fraud case in U.S. history and part of the $9 billion welfare fraud scheme.
But there's tremendous news and a reason to be very optimistic. We were too big to rig. Trump shocked the world, and he's saving our country every day.
President Trump announced the United States will withdraw from 66 international organizations and treaties. This includes major bodies like the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change and the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. The decision follows a review by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, citing these groups as contrary to U.S. interests.
66 fraud groups to weaken America.
All you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you?
And that dizzy bimbo is the product of two communist actors. And that's all this is. One giant play of the Communist Party.
In June, hundreds of communists will gather in Italy, joined by thousands participating online, to found a new revolutionary communist international to fight for socialist revolution across the globe. Join us. Capitalism faces its deepest ever crisis. Israel is conducting a brutal massacre of the people of Gaza with the
It's us against the communists. Good versus evil. We're going to win. If you're in one of these corrupt states, just tough it out. Or come down here and make sure Democrats don't.